right, just one more. Yeah.
Thank you. One of the questions that you did not address was our international trade policy. And I wonder what your view is of the State Department's role with regard, for example, to our Doha round negotiations, the Buy America provisions that are now part of domestic stimulus legislation. And I know about the significance of the State Department's involvement, having been Treasury official during the Tokyo round, and we would have a trade policy group chaired by the USTR, went around the table, and we had 17 votes in favor of what we were proposing. But the State Department guys said, well, if you go and do that, we're going to go to the president. And so our chair said, this is like the Emancipation Proclamation. The vote is 17-1, and the ones have it. And that was sort of the influence of the State Department abiding by our international trade obligations and others trying to overlook. I wondered what your view is about your responsibilities to move the international trade agenda, which seems to be now ever focused on more relevant countries in the big picture, like in Doha, the issue of Buy America, for example, that not been heard from.
Well, Peter, as you know, I started my career teaching international trade law in the context of what was a move, it seemed to me at the time, to develop alternative venues for trade liberalization, bilateral fora like free trade agreements, as well as the NAFTA, and then what were called at the time plurilateral discussions. Right now I'm the lawyer for the policymakers in the State Department who are pursuing that. One of the complications that we face, frankly, is a very simple one. It takes a long time for people to get confirmed, extraordinarily long period of time. The Undersecretary for Economic Affairs, Bob Hormats, and the Assistant Secretary for Economic, Energy, and Business Affairs, Jose Fernandez, came in quite recently, and both of them have frankly hit the ground running. They've done a fantastic job in a very short period of time, and we have a group of lawyers who are advisors to them. What the trade policy will look like in the course of the next year and a half obviously depends on a much broader set of questions around our global economic policies. Probably the greatest change over the last year has been the new focus on the G20 process and the question how that process relates to multilateral trade rounds, the follow-on to Doha, et cetera, I think remains to be determined. The Trade Representative's Office, as you know well from your time, has traditionally taken the lead on these issues, and I'm sure you're very closely in communication with them. But I think that the State Department will be an important player on these issues for the reasons that I gave. The Secretary believes that the economic dimension of our diplomacy is critical. She believes that economic diplomacy and commercial diplomacy are an important part of what she's doing, in particular with some of our most significant trading partners, our most significant political partners. The trade and finance relationship is a critical aspect of it. Addressing the problems of the bottom billion and issues about intellectual property will have to be addressed in the trade setting. So I think that we are in a funny situation where a number of issues have such high prominence that they have to be addressed. It's a little bit like the floodwaters at such a high level that until the floodwaters start to drop, you don't know what issues will emerge and get the next level of prominence. At this point in time, I would have hoped that we could have moved on to issues with regard to immigration, financial regulation, et cetera. All of these are still in the mix. But as John said, it's an election year. There's efforts across a number of different areas to address these questions. And I'm sure that question will be very high on the discussion list.
All right. I hope you'll all join me in thanking both.
Nice talking.